She was really worn out from working too much and not getting enough rest. All she wanted was to go to bed and relax. But upon arriving home her legs gave out, and she fell to the ground just a few steps away from her bed. It felt like she was going to die, and that made her really sad because she didn't have a chance to say goodbye to her parents. Suddenly, her soul left her body, and she started crying because she was all alone. But then something lucky happened. God gave her a chance to come back to life, but with a condition. She had to do a task for God. Midori was scared, but God promised to give her power and bring her back to life. She was happy about it, and even talked about how much she loved fluffy things, especially her parents' cat. God listened to her and decided to give her the power to control animals. Without asking her, God brought her back to life. When she opened her eyes, she was in a big house with her parents and siblings. They were happy to see her, but she couldn't move or talk. Her mom did the naming ritual and gave her a new name, Nima. 3 years have passed, and we are then introduced to Nima's family. She was part of the ducal family. She is happy with her gentleman like brother Ralph and her beautiful cute sister Kara. On her 3rd birthday, Ralph gave her flowers, and Kara showed her fireworks. Nima loved animals, and she had many of them. She was excited to introduce each one and feel their soft fur. Nima excitedly dashes towards her pets, but a rock almost makes her fall. Right before she gets hurt, her loyal dog, Dee, comes to her rescue. Her parents, relieved to see their daughter safe, breathe a sigh of relief. Nima feels like she's in heaven with so many animals and birds surrounding her. However, the abundance becomes a bit overwhelming, and she realizes she shouldn't try to tame too many animals. Still, she's happy being in their company. After a while, Nima's mother becomes anxious because she's called to the royal palace. With her husband away and Ralph and Kara at the academy, there's no one to take care of Nima. With no other option, she decides to take Nima to the royal palace. Before leaving, she warns Nima to be a good girl, as it's her first time going out. Nima agrees and promises to be a good girl, and they head to the royal palace. As they arrive, Nima looks at the people's faces, finding no signs of persecution. Her mother casts a protection spell on her, and instructs her not to go anywhere. However, once her mother begins her duties, Nima spots a bird and starts chasing it. Despite her mother's warning, she arrives at the garden, where she is captivated by squirrels and other animals. In the midst of her joy, all the animals suddenly disappear, and Nima senses a strange presence. She turns her attention to the source, revealing a sky tiger with furious yet gentle eyes emerging from the bushes. Although scared, Nima is drawn to the majestic creature. To her surprise, the sky tiger licks her, revealing an unusual fondness for the little girl. Nima, feeling a connection, gets closer to the sky tiger, experiencing the fluffiness that transports her to another world. Simultaneously, the sky tiger sits down, indicating that Nima can ride on him. It's peculiar that the beast, the sky tiger, allows a little girl like Nima to sit on him without any fear. Seizing the opportunity, she sits on his back, and the sky tiger takes her to its master, who turns out to be a prince. The prince is surprised by the presence of a little girl on his loyal companion, as he's never formed attachments with anyone else before. He worries about Nima, who seems to trust the beast without fear. The prince warns Nima, diverting her attention towards him. For a moment, she's captivated by his beauty, but the prince's actions annoy her. Despite her continuous requests to be let down, the prince enjoys the situation, putting her on his shoulder, making her yell and move her hands and legs in protest. However, Lars, the beast, intervenes and puts her down, surprising the prince, as Lars has never been friendly with anyone. The prince is impressed with Nima and inquires about her parents who left her alone. She tries to clear the misunderstanding, but the prince is not in the mood to listen. Riding on the sky tiger's back, she heads to the royal palace, reaching the king's library. Spotting her father, she runs to him, astonishing him. Despite his worry, the prince declares himself a hero, claiming to have saved Nima, who was lost in the forest. Annoyed by this false narrative, she corrects him, but her father thanks the prince, referring to him as Wilherd. Shocked by this revelation, she considers him a brute but decides to call him Brute Prince. The king introduces himself to Nima. Determined to win the king's favor, she charmingly introduces herself and succeeds in winning his heart. The king allows her to come to the royal palace again, making her ecstatic. However, her mother, still upset, warns her to avoid being alone with the beast, as it is unpredictable. She also mentions that Sky Tiger gets power from divine sources. This power is called elementalism. Nima's mother warns her to be cautious when being alone with the sky tiger since it is a divine beast. But Nima, ignoring her mother's concern, runs to D. Later, she is taken to the magnificent academy where her elders study. Given special treatment due to her father's position, her mother warns her again to stick with her and hold her hand. The parents are seated in a special area to watch her brother's Clash of Clans match, magically created by the teachers. Nima is impressed with the competition ground. The first round features Ralph and his competitor. Nima is scared by Ralph's intense personality, as he faces his opponent in a battle with soldiers and magic master wands. Fortunately, Ralph proves dominant, knocking down his rival. Nima congratulates her brother but starts shivering, prompting her to go to the restroom. After returning, she joins Ralph, who is now with Tristan. Tristan brags about winning, but Nima interrupts by calling her brother. Tristan mocks Ralph, suggesting he could use taking care of his sister as an excuse to lose. Enraged, Nima insults Tristan, who raises his hand to hit her. Just then, Wilherd arrives and both boys greet him. Wilherd reprimands Tristan for raising his hand to a child and asks for forgiveness, taking Nima's side. Wilherd assumes Nima is scared of Tristan and hiding behind her brother, but in reality, she's avoiding the prince. Unaware of this, he tells Ralph about saving her in the forest. Nima opposes, insisting she never got lost, gaining the prince's attention. He holds her in his hands, deciding to take her as a plaything. Despite her refusal, the prince knows how much she loves the royal palace. So, the prince grants Nima access to the royal palace whenever she wants. Despite her initial resistance to being a plaything, she starts considering the offer. Wilherd issues a threat to Tristan, warning him not to mess with Nima, as she belongs to him. Terrified, Tristan runs away, and Wilherd assures Ralph that his father has no objection to Nima because he is fond of her. Nima, however, remains agitated about Wilherd's behavior, as he seems pleased listening to the king. Wilherd notices her agitation and inquires about her feelings towards him. She struggles to express that he appears brutish to her, while Wilherd thinks she seeks his attention and playfully pinches her cheeks. Ralph intervenes, asking Wilherd to hand over Nima so she can attend Kara's trial. Wilherd agrees, accompanying them, unwilling to leave Nima alone. Ralph no longer has an excuse to carry Nima, so he moves to the competition ground where Wilherd is greeted by Nima's parents. However, Wilherd surprises them by expressing interest in becoming a student to watch the competition. Their attention shifts to Kara, surrounded by a magical circle. Wilherd explains that she needs to overpower the monster that emerges from the circle. As Kara starts performing her magic, a fire dragon appears, shocking everyone. Wilherd inquires about Kara's abilities, and his assistant explains that she controls fire but needs to master water elements, making the task risky. Worried for her sister, Nima jumps from Wilherd's lap without thinking and rushes to the ground. Her parents are concerned, but a magical force ensures she reaches the ground unharmed. Soldiers prepare to tackle the fire dragon, but Nima rushes to stand in front of it, shouting at everyone not to harm the majestic creature. The fire dragon's attention shifts to Nima, puzzled by her presence in a place where a little girl shouldn't be. Nima, able to communicate with the dragon, senses his anger and forcefully calls him. She tries to reason with him, explaining the adverse effects of fighting and the potential harm to his gleaming scales. The divine dragon calms down, and Nima expresses her wish to pat his scales. The fire dragon, moved by her innocence, bends down, which shocks everyone in the arena. As the guards are about to take action, the prince forbids it, assuring there's no danger. At first, Nima thinks the dragon's body will be hot, but to her surprise he is calm and warm. The fire dragon then declares Nima as his master, leaving everyone astounded. Through a shared orb, they establish a mental connection, and after 3 years, Nima can use the dragon's power whenever she desires. The fire dragon, understanding the difficulty for Nima to keep the orb, allows her to transform it into anything she wants. Nima chooses a teddy bear, pleased to have met the elegant dragon, who bids her farewell as he disappears. Kara holds her little sister, tears rolling from her eyes. Brute Prince, showing concern, squeezes Nima's cheeks. As he orders mages to handle the situation, he plans to take them to the palace. They are warmly welcomed into the court and given an amazing introduction. Nima becomes nervous as many royal personalities are present. The king and queen arrive, discussing the case. The king is aware of Nima's pact with the fire dragon, expressing concern that she could use its power against the kingdom. Nima's father clarifies that it's not a formal pact, and she can only use the power when threatened. To assure the king, he swears by his name, revealing his death when he poses the statement. Nima worries about her father, realizing they'd gathered to discuss a serious matter. Salazar points out the flawless magic circle, and this was God's will to send the fire dragon. Hearing this, Nema is relieved, feeling that God hasn't left her totally alone in this world intentionally. The high priest shares his perception that the divine dragon is a good omen for the kingdom and can boost their spirits. Nema becomes doubtful, wondering how they use such flowery language to please the king. Amidst the discussions and commotion, Nema's sole focus is on her desire to be with fluffy animals. Brute Prince notices her expression and suggests playing with Lars, the beast. But Prince understands her boredom and King allows her to move to Lars. Lars, pleased to see his old friend, takes Nema to his place in a luxurious environment, where a large piece of meat is placed before him. With excitement, Nema holds a piece of meat and offers it to Sky Tiger. The people around her are shocked at how she feeds him without any protective gear. A maid offers her a handkerchief, and Nema thanks her, displaying her cuteness. Ignoring the attention, she commands Lars to match their hands, and Nema's heart leaps with happiness. The royal onlookers are shocked to see her bonding with the fearsome beast and other animals. Later, she lies down with Lars, feeling like she's in heaven. Not long after, she falls asleep, her father admiring her beauty. Generals, aware of the fire dragon's significance, plan to keep a guard on her for her safety. However, her father, overhearing their selfish conversations, is frustrated and decides to leave. Others harbor sinister intentions, with the high priest expressing a desire to educate Nema to become a holy maiden. However, her father refuses, knowing the priest's true intentions. As tensions rise, Osf refuses the high priest's proposition, leading to a confrontation. The priest attacks Osf and his wife, raising doubts about Nema's true identity. Cerulia decides to clear the doubt by revealing the true name of the vow. However, the high priest remains suspicious, and Cerulia mentions the king's presence. She warns him not to doubt again, as it would mean challenging a king. The royal court opposes Osf, expressing their reluctance to let Nema go. Later, Lars wakes up Nema by licking her face, bringing her back to the present. Nema opens her eyes and looks at her parents, who share the good news that no one will scold her. The divine beast has granted her power, and the king holds her in his hands, expressing his fascination with the pretty girl. The king gives her permission to come to the palace anytime and allows her to go wherever she wishes. However, he emphasizes the need for someone's supervision when she visits the dragon's place. This sparks her interest, activating her senses, as she can't miss the chance to meet the fluffy animals. Later, Brute Prince takes Nema to his room and plans to send her to the dragon heaven in Gwyn's company. Nema is surprised to see Gwyn, finding his personality amusing. She greets him, acknowledging him as her guardian, someone she can inquire about anything and who is responsible for protecting her. Moving with guards, Nema feels ashamed, questioning why she needs their protection. Despite her feelings, she proceeds, willing to do anything for her fluffy animals. On the way, she encounters Dan, the keeper of dragons, who wears ordinary clothes for his dragon care duties. Gwyn criticizes Dan for not wearing a royal dress like him. Both Gwyn and Dan are mates at the academy level, often ready to mess with each other. To divert their attention, Nema playfully pulls their trousers. Realizing what they did to her, Dan holds her hand and cautions her to be careful because there may be more dragons than she imagines. Dan explains the different types of dragons: lindblooms, the flying ones, and lindrakes, those without wings living in deserts and lake areas. Each dragon prefers its suitable environment, making it their home. Suppressing her desire for a head pat on the dragon's head, Nema knows Dan won't allow it. However, she can't control her desire, and red beams appear in her body, attracting the dragons. Dan becomes vigilant as the dragons are drawn to the rare occurrence. Despite Dan's attempt to take her away, the leader dragon stops them from proceeding. Ignoring Dan's caution, Nema steps forward toward Gizel, shocking everyone, as she even knows his name. The dragon, Gizel, agrees to Nema's request, and she jumps to pat his head. Seeking permission from Dan, she quickly gains approval, and Gizel bends so she can sit on him. Without hesitation, she rides the dragon into the sky, experiencing a beautiful day of her life. Leaving Dan and others bewildered below, she soars through the sky. Gizel, sensing her humanity but also detecting the fragrance of a fire dragon, knows she hasn't made a pact with him. Nema, aware of this, shares with Gizel about the fire dragon she communicated with. With the fire dragon's orb, she can communicate with other dragons as well. Gizel takes her to a flowery land where a little dragon warmly welcomes her. She makes a flower band for him, but he prefers eating it rather than wearing it. Nema playfully chases him, and other baby dragons join in, thinking it's a game. Later, she swims in the water, playing with the dragons by throwing water at them, and another dragon joins the playful scene. Meanwhile, Dan and Gwyn discuss Nema. Dan, aware of Gizel's nature as the leader of dragons, worries about her. Gwyn clarifies that the orb she possesses is extraordinary, indicating that she is not an ordinary girl. Nema returns with Lars and another dragon, shocking everyone. Making connections with various animals, especially fluffy ones, she has become loved by them. The next day, Nima heads to the Beast Knight's stable to meet more fluffy animals. She's joined by Captain Les, in charge of escorting her. There, Nima feels annoyed as Dan sticks close to her, fearing she might wander off without permission. She introduces herself, surprising Les, who finds her surprisingly ordinary with no apparent special abilities. He's confused as to why Dan seems jealous of Nima, causing him to try and figure out Nima's ability to tame different beasts. First, they meet the herd leader Yuaz, who appears proud. When Nima asks to play, he snorts in arrogance, surprising her as it's the first time an animal has refused to play. Les excuses Yuaz's behavior, calling him selfish, which disappoints the horse. Nima cleverly wins Yuaz's heart by patting him and explaining that he's not selfish but has to adopt proud behavior to lead the herd. Les apologizes for his mistake, and they move on to see other animals. The grounds are vast, and Les arranges a horse for them. He introduced a horse named Hugh, a horse perfect for beginners. Nima feels like a princess riding the fluffy white horse, fulfilling her dream. Along the way, she notices a boar searching for food, surrounded by little boars. Suddenly they rush towards Nima to play, but she calls for help. Yuaz comes to her rescue, scaring off the little boars with his presence. And Nima thanks him for saving them, surprising Les, as Yuaz isn't usually friendly. As they continue, Les introduces her to the wakas. Upon learning that wakas are the fastest animals on land, mischievous thoughts pop into Nima's tiny brain. She stubbornly insists on riding a waka to enjoy the atmosphere, unaware of the consequences. Despite Les' persistence, Nima's wish to ride a waka prevails. Les chooses an energetic yet calm waka for her, but Nima's attempt to touch its neck proves futile due to its height. Les instructs her to hold him from behind, and as she touches the waka, she feels like she had just been in heaven. To make the waka run, Nima pats its leg, and with the sign from Les, the waka starts running at incredible speed, causing strong winds that make it difficult for Nima to breathe. Realizing his mistake, Les casts a wind spell to help her breathe, apologizing for not casting the spell earlier. But Nima suspects Les' intentions due to jealousy. Despite Nima's refusal, Les decides to ride faster, leaving Nima feeling dizzy and shivering after they get off the waka. Les reveals he only used 50% of the waka's speed, shocking Nima even further. Dan can't help but laugh as they continue forward to explore more animals. Next, they encounter a greyhawk, and Les whistles to make it sit on his arm. Nima becomes obsessed with the greyhawk but struggles to make it sit on her arm due to her short arms, which saddens her, a feeling she can't hide from Les. The greyhawk is usually used for sending messages. But this time Les notices a note on its leg and he receives a distressing message, causing Les to halt their exploration. Nima feels sad but is permitted to return, and Les promises to introduce her to other animals later. Les quickly attends to his duty as his squad reports the escape of a white moose, and he orders its immediate capture. But secretly he kept on pondering Nima's unique ability to communicate with animals like the Yuas and Waka, who are unusually obedient today. But this isn't the time to dwell on it. To Les's surprise, Nima suddenly arrives riding the escaped white moose, accompanied by Lars. She found the moose while trying to visit Gizel and found out that it was lost. So she led the moose back, which stunned Les, who insists she should inform him first next time. Nima promises to do so, leaving Les even more jealous of her unique connection with animals. Back home, it's Nima's birthday, and she wishes to visit the city. Her father worries about her going alone, but her mother sides with her, agreeing to send her with Paul's and Kara's supervision. They explore the market's beauty, and Nima delights in the sights, sounds, and smells of the city, buying drumsticks and treats for her loved ones, including her favorite pet, Lee. Later, she's drawn to the scent of something even more delicious. Kara then tells her that it's a dish called pepe and she eagerly rushes to buy it. As she arrives, the peeps are in the middle of being baked, and it seems like it's going to be finished soon. She rushes to the lady who offers a lot of pepe at a low price and she quickly buys a bunch. Kara questions why she bought so much, but innocent Nima explains she got it for everyone at home. Realizing her sister's overwhelming love, Kara hugs her tightly. After an exhausting shopping spree, Nima and Kara head for coffee but are mocked by some girls already there. They pointed out Nima's lack of magic and how she didn't look like her family. Hurt by their narrow-mindedness, Nima tries to hide her sadness, but Kara stands up for her, claiming that they are unfit nobles who can't see her greatness, reminding them that Nima's true talents are even recognized by the royal family. Back home, Nima feels proud of her sister for standing up to the bullies. As she enters, she's surprised by a party thrown in her honor by her parents, who are preparing for her departure. The king, queen, Les, Danon, and others have arrived to celebrate, and Nima is overwhelmed with happiness, tears streaming down her face. Prince Brute playfully teases her, but she smiles through her tears, touched by everyone's gifts and gestures. The queen gives her magical stones for protection, and the king teaches her how to use magic to defend herself, reassuring her that he'll be there to help when she calls. Prince Brute then gives her a protective bracelet and warns her never to take it off, boasting about its superiority. Gwyn gives her an encyclopedia of animals, and Dan offers a hair clip made of dragon scale. At last Les presents her with a rain hawk that sits on her hand, winning her heart. Even her parents notice her sadness when she couldn't make the hawk sit on her hand. It's a wonderful birthday for Nima, and that night, back in her room, she contemplates on a name for her rain hawk. She then decides on a name, and names her rain hawk Nox. The following day, she begins teaching her new pet, Nox, under the watchful eyes of Dan and Les. They are amazed at how a young girl has successfully trained a bird. Regardless of how far she may go, the bird will always return to her. Les then suggests that she train Nox in a remote location the next day. Hearing this, she pouts cutely, realizing she can't train her beloved Nox as often anymore. Instead, she will be starting school soon enough, and she must learn from a tutor when she returns home. Upon her return, she encounters Anna, a graceful lady whose appearance, manner of speaking, outfit, and hairstyle all exude elegance. Initially, Anna captures Nima's heart, but little does Nima know, events will soon transpire to turn this lady into her enemy. As the butler departs, Anna's gaze fixates on Nima like a predator eyeing its prey. She has decided to refine Nima's manner of speech, despite Nima's already stunning eloquence. Nima's habit of addressing her parents as Mama and Papa is deemed inappropriate. When Nima fails to comply, Anna strikes her with a stick, causing pain. Though angry, Nima restrains her emotions, maintaining control of her expressions even in the face of such adversity. The butler enters the room again and mistakenly assumes Anna to be on friendly terms with Nima. She confirms their friendship. And Nima, observing Anna's behavior, realizes her duplicity. Thus begins a nightmarish routine of enduring physical punishment whenever Nima makes a mistake, leaving her body scarred. Despite this, Nima learns to adapt and comply with Anna's demands. Anna reflects on her previous role as a teacher to Kara and Ralph and worries for Nima's well-being. She is determined to endure this until she achieves victory. With renewed determination, she prepares for her next lesson. However, she is immediately reprimanded for slouching, earning another painful strike from Anna's stick. Despite the pain, Nima musters a heartwarming smile, though she feels shame at her own resilience. Nevertheless, she quickly regains control over her emotions and begins studying. During dinner, Nima leaves early, unable to finish her meal properly. Concerned for her well-being, her family attempts to intervene, but Nima avoids their questions and rushes off. She knows revealing the truth about Anna's abuse would only make matters worse. Ralph uses his magic to detain her, unfairly capturing her. Witnessing this, her mother deduces Anna's involvement and resolves to confront Anna, who is responsible for her daughter's suffering. However, Nima insists on handling the situation herself, determined to stop anyone from getting involved. Recognizing Nima's resilience, her mother refrains from involving Kara and their father. She advises Nima to identify her enemy's weaknesses and confront her faults head-on. Determined to act on this advice, Nima focuses on relaxing her nerves through Ralph's magical assistance. With her brother's support, she hones her abilities and refines her demeanor, impressing even her father with her newfound elegance. Despite her transformation, the memory of Anna's strike still haunts Nima, reminding her of the woman's monstrous nature. One day, when Anna is absent, Paul hands Nima a letter revealing Anna's affiliation with the Church of Divine Creation. Armed with this knowledge, Nima devises a plan to use Anna's beliefs against her. During class, she poses a thought-provoking question about a drought-stricken nation seeking aid from the church. Anna defends her faith, claiming divine sanction for the church's actions. Nima challenges her, asserting the equality of all nations in the eyes of God. Through skillful questioning, Nima exposes the hypocrisy of Anna's beliefs, leading Anna to defend a priest's supposed divine connection as justification for the church's actions. Undeterred, Nima presses on, challenging the notion of divine favoritism. Anna's perception is skewed by her blind adherence to her beliefs, despite never having met those she accuses of barbaric behavior. Nima challenges Anna's unjust accusations, prompting Anna to strike her and reveal her true nature. Nima calmly wins the argument through reasoned discussion, leaving Anna speechless and ashamed. Meanwhile, not long after, Nima's father notices the scars on her cheeks, which fuels his anger, but Nima reassures him that she can handle the situation herself. But Nima's father warns Anna against harming his daughter, leading Anna to apologize and change her behavior. With Anna's newfound humility, Nima's life returns to normal. She impresses her parents with her violin skills and elegant stitching, showcasing her newfound maturity. Later, Nima enjoys spending time with Yuas, finding solace in the fluffy animal's presence, and reveling in her newfound freedom. Meanwhile, her family, entrusted with the kingdom of Gash, senses something amiss and decides to investigate. Excited for her first trip to Snowfall City, she eagerly participates in a transportation spell led by numerous mages. Despite the magical journey, Nima finds herself in a new location that appears unchanged. However, she soon realizes they have arrived in the north, where they are warmly welcomed by the locals. Overwhelmed with excitement, Nima eagerly opens the door to explore the snowy landscape. Even as her father attempted to stop her, it was too late. Nima had already opened the door and stepped outside, captivated by the fluffy snow. However, her excitement quickly turns to concern as she realizes the cold froze her. Her father rushes to her aid, using warm magic to thaw her frozen body. He explains the dangers of the icy weather and ensures Nima is properly dressed to stay warm. As they travel, they arrive at an isolated house where servants welcome them. She eagerly tastes the delicious meals served to her, deciding to pack some for their journey into the forest. But her father hesitates to take her into the forest due to the presence of wild monsters. Despite this, Nima insists, saying that she can seek guidance from the red dragon. She calls out to the dragon, and she asks about the abnormality of the forest monsters. After she revealed her location, the red dragon is shocked, as no monsters reside in that area, prompting Nima to wonder if this was part of God's plan. Despite her predicament, Nima is unable to reveal the probability that this was God's decision. Nima, equipped with her rabbit-shaped bag, detective amulet, and birthday knife, prepares to venture into the forest. She is joined by the bird Nox, who she designates as their guardian. As they stand at the forest's edge, their leader warns of potential encounters with monsters. Entering the forest, the group is struck by its depth. Nima seeks reassurance from Nox as they take a break by a tree. While having lunch, they are startled by movement in the forest, but it turns out to be just a rabbit. Despite the soldier's reassurance, Nima is drawn to the injured rabbit and rushes after it into the forest. Nima finds the rabbit under a tree and apologizes for scaring it. She advises it to seek help from her companions, but is suddenly attacked and dragged away by an unseen force. One of the knights later finds Nima's hat beside a tree, prompting a search for her. Meanwhile, Nima finds herself surrounded by goblins in a cave. One of them tries to take the rabbit from her, but she insists they not eat it. She questions their intentions, and her mood shifts from happiness to fear as she is taken deeper into the cave by monstrous creatures. Back with the group, they encounter a man who believes Nima has been kidnapped by goblins. Her father is enraged and vows to find her, while Nima is brought to a cave where two human girls inquire if she was also abducted. Nima affirms her situation to Nino, who warmly introduces herself along with her companions Pino. They explain their own abduction and separation from the rest of the group. Nima wonders about the presence of older individuals and learns they've been imprisoned in the cave. She ponders the safety of using fire magic in the confined space and communicates telepathically with Soul. As Nima begins to exhibit strange behavior, Nino questions her actions. Nima apologizes and resolves to wait for her father's rescue. They all feel hunger pangs but find no food in the cave. Nima gives Nino a small dog for company and reassures them before sneaking out to find food. Encountering a goblin in the cave, Nima apologizes and asks for edible food. The goblin offers a fruit, which Nima hesitantly tastes before finding it sweet. She asks for more and receives a bag of the fruit, sharing it with the monsters. Nima realizes the monsters are in danger and seeks to protect them. Terrified of her father's potential arrival, Nima engages with the goblins, learning about their protective nature towards abducted children. She questions their attacks on humans, to which the goblin leader cryptically replies about survival. Perplexed, Nima seeks clarification from the goblin leader, who explains how humans drove them and other creatures from their habitat, resulting in many deaths among their kind. Saddened by the consequences of human cruelty, Nima decides to inform her father but is unsure of what to do with the goblins. Feeling compelled to help them, she discusses their intentions with the goblin leader, sensing a predatory undertone in their desires. She suggests a pact for all creatures, including goblins and other displaced beings, to coexist. The goblin leader finds the idea intriguing, acknowledging potential benefits, but questions the feasibility of ensuring human survival. Nevertheless, they agree to proceed, and Nima warns them of her father's imminent arrival, fearing potential harm. The goblin leader agrees to devise a plan to ensure her father listens. Meanwhile, Nima provides food for Nino and Pino, advising against rushing and emphasizing the importance of waiting for her father. Nino and Pino discuss the situation, realizing the need for Nima's father's presence to negotiate with the goblins effectively. They understand the plan and agree to play a role in it, despite the risks. Reassuring her younger brother, Nino expresses trust in Nima's plan, and Pino agrees to assist, moved by Nima's words. The scene shifts to the forest, where Nima's father and his companions reach the goblin's cave. Determined to save Nima, they notice children fleeing in fear of the goblins and rush to their rescue. At that moment, the remaining soldiers raise their swords against the monsters, all part of Nima's devised plan. She commanded the soldiers to retreat to their lair, overjoyed that everything was proceeding as planned. Confronted by a large, wicked monster, Nima was sure dialogue would prevail. Suddenly, Nima's father and his soldiers stood before the monsters, surprising them with their presence. Nima's father unleashed a fire spell on the goblin leader, but Nima had protected it with an enchantment. Realizing Nima's presence and use of magic, he instructed her to leave immediately. Surprised and apologetic, she confessed, and her father, astonished, reassured her and embraced her. As her father signaled his soldiers to kill the goblin leader, Nima intervened, declaring she wouldn't allow it. She explained the goblin's plight to her father, pleading for his understanding. Eventually, he agreed not to harm them, and Nima felt relieved. She checked on Pino and Nino, who were unharmed. Suddenly, Nima's flying creature Nox appeared, indicating imminent danger. Nima illuminated the area with a large flame, revealing monsters with glowing eyes, including the frost spider, posing a significant threat. Everyone is taken aback by its unexpected appearance in that location. Nima senses the spider's hunger and anticipates its impending attack on them all. Just then, the Goblin King strides forward. However, her father advises her not to intervene, deeming it a personal duel. The Goblin King and the frost spider engage in a ferocious battle, with the spider attempting to crush the king with a felled tree and encase him in ice. Despite the spider's formidable attacks, the Goblin King surprises everyone with his strength, landing a powerful blow that seemingly defeats the spider. Yet, the spider rises again, catching the Goblin King off guard and prompting a suspenseful moment. However, to everyone's amazement, the Goblin King rises, lifting the massive spider and hurling it away. Nima notices the spider's distress and realizes it was seeking help to protect its offspring. Moved by compassion, Nima sheds tears as she comforts the grieving baby spider. Her father consoles her, explaining the cycle of life and the inevitability of death, urging her to stay strong. Nima expresses her newfound desire to become stronger not just for herself, but to aid others like the spider. Suddenly, a bright yellow light envelopes the goblin, transforming him into a half-human form. Nima is astonished, and her father explains this as an evolution. Soul, however, reveals that the Goblin King has reached the pinnacle of goblin hierarchy and cannot evolve further. Soul then promises to visit her tomorrow, to discuss this matter further. And Nima relays the message to her father, who hastily provides the goblin with clothes. Meanwhile, Nima thanks the Goblin King for saving them. Suddenly, a baby spider approaches Nima, climbing onto her shoulder, and she happily names it Grazia. A bright light emits from the bug, displaying a strange symbol, leaving Nima worried. The next morning, she washes her face as the goblin instructs his followers to carry the spider, warning them of its venomous fangs. The Goblin King assures Nima that he'll release the adult humans, deeming them a hindrance. Nino and Pino arrive, and Nima warmly welcomes them. They share a light-hearted moment, laughing together before feeling hungry and heading off to eat. A soldier informs Nima that the little rabbit is recovering well, which makes her happy as it's successfully healed. Her father then approaches, praising her intelligence and stating the responsibility in raising a pet. He suggests the rabbit should remain in its natural habitat, explaining the ripple effect of disrupting wild animals' nature. Nima decides to leave the rabbit to avoid future complications, apologizing for any harm caused and promising to return another day to play. She looks forward to playing with Nox at home. But when Nima mentions the baby spider to her father, he is shocked by its monstrous appearance, noting its uniqueness in being black. The transformed goblin, now resembling a human, educates Nima about the difference between animals and monsters. He explains the distinction lies in intelligence, recalling her friend Dan's words. The humanoid goblin bluntly describes monsters as flawed creations, needing acknowledgement from powerful beings to gain a specific name and access magic. But she proudly reveals Grazia's name, surprising her father, who quickly reassures her. As they prepare to leave, the transformed goblin informs them everything is ready. Nima then expresses satisfaction at the growth of their party but acknowledges it's all coming to an end. Before leaving, Nima casts a protection spell on the cave. Upon arriving, Nima inquires about Nino and Pino's residences, learning they live in the nearby district. Her father questions if they are Earl Irega's children, which they confirm, mentioning their family name. He assures them of their safety and sends a messenger pigeon to inform their family. Nino shyly invites Nima to visit their home anytime for playdates. And Nima hugs them affectionately, promising to join them the next day. Suddenly Soul arrives, and Nima excitedly embraces him, admiring his smooth texture and feathers. Soul then comments on the transformed goblin's distinction from an Oni. But Nima, lost in thought, expresses a desire to nap using Soul's belly as a pillow and his wing as a blanket, which annoys Soul. Despite Soul's warnings, Nima remains oblivious until she's comically thrown off. The transformed goblin then carries her, and demonstrates his elemental powers after being guided by Soul. Impressed by his demonstration of fire, wind, water, and earth elements, Nima sees potential benefits for their plan. However, Nima realizes she hasn't informed her father about their plans yet. But they then decide to discuss it later back at home. Nevertheless, her father agrees to support her while the transformed goblin contemplates a name for himself. Nima suggests naming him Shinki, but a mark suddenly appears on his forehead, causing her to regret her decision, while also shocking her father. She apologizes to Shinki, but Nima learns he would have requested a name anyways, due to him acknowledging her guidance. Shinki declares his goblin's loyalty to Nima, pledging their allegiance. And Nima feels proud and happy to have included Shinki in her party. Suddenly Shinki bows to her, affirming his loyalty and states Nima as his master. The scene shifts to Nima, who wants to help monsters. Nima has a plan to give them a new, safe place to live. And she thinks of moving them somewhere humans can't go. There, they can start fresh. Her dad's heart is touched by her idea, even though he knows it might not work. Still, he wants to think about it because he knows humans are to blame for the monster's problems. Suddenly Asp proposes to bring Shinki along for an inspection because he knows a lot about monsters and has special powers. But Shinki worries about leaving the goblin's nest for too long. He then proposes for Nima to name another strong goblin there, so that they can take care for themselves. Shinki takes Nima to his cave, where a female goblin is waiting. Nima is surprised that the goblin can talk. And Shinki tells Nima that this goblin is the strongest among them all, and that it should evolve in a few more hunting trips. Nima was confused on what to name her. Not long after she learns that the goblin likes flowers and gives her a name, making her a servant. Another goblin suddenly appeared and wished for a name too, but Suzuko stops him because he's not strong enough. However, Nima likes his determination to protect his friends from humans. And she gives him a challenge, to defeat a giant boar to prove he deserves a name. Nima is ready to name him as she knows it's tough for a goblin to take down a giant boar, and his life could be at risk. But he's willing to take the chance, and Nima is pleased to see his determination. So she gives him the name Tuki, symbolizing his fighting spirit. Afterward they head home, and Nima tells Shinki how they became friends. Later, they're in a carriage, and Asp shares information about the next location, where monsters are causing trouble to pinpoint the areas. Asp then tells Nima that after the inspection, he must return to the palace to attend to some matters. But Nima worries about her plans without her father. Asp then reveals that her brother Ralph will accompany them. Hearing this, Nima is delighted at the thought of having her brother by her side. They arrive at Cass, where they're warmly welcomed. However, Nima is more interested in the Adventurers Guild than the hospitality. She wants to explore and understand what people do there. Ignoring her father's wishes, she follows her heart, glad to have Shinki with her. As they enter the guild, Belle notices Shinki's horns and realizes he's not human. She explains the rule against monsters, but Shinki calmly states that he'll stay until Nima leaves, addressing her as his master. Belle is shocked at how a young girl could be a monster's owner. But Nima ignores their conversation, focusing on the guild hall, eager to explore. They find a soundproof cabin for privacy, ensuring their conversations won't be overheard. Before they can continue, a man interrupts, complaining about the mayor's actions. Another defends the mayor, and Belle reveals the man is Hein, the town chairman, who opposes the mayor due to his unfairness. Nima realizes that this town is suffering from corruption, and she decides to confront Hein to learn more about the situation. Despite Hein's reluctance to talk to a child, Nima persists, mentioning her connection with the Duke and her investigative mission with her father. Hein is surprised by her confidence and apologizes, but he still hesitates to share details with her due to her age. However, Nima insists that she can understand and help. Hein explains that the mayor is embezzling funds meant for injured people and neglecting infrastructure issues. He also mentions the increasing attacks by monsters and the lack of assistance from knights, who are busy dealing with other problems. Nima becomes worried and realizes the gravity of the situation. She decides to involve the monster's leader in their plan and instructs Shinki to rally the goblins to their cause. Nima sends Nox to deliver a message to her father, requesting a meeting at the mayor's house. And Belle offers to guide them, but Nima declines, feeling it's her responsibility to handle. But she insisted, and so they departed to the mayor's house. They then arrive at the mayor's house at night, but she immediately faces her father's anger for leaving without permission. She tried to apologize, but her father scolds her for endangering herself and neglecting her family's safety. Tears well up in Nima's eyes as she realizes her mistake. But suddenly, her brother Ralph comforts her, wiping away her tears, mentioning that even their father is not allowed to make her cry. Nima is also surprised by Prince Brute's unexpected presence, and she's grateful for his support. Soon after, they resume their initial plan where Hein explains everything that has been happening in the town. Asf listens to Hein's revelations and takes action, dismissing the mayor after a long and hard investigation before assigning someone else to apprehend the mayor. With the immediate crisis resolved, Nima enjoys the company of Prince Brute and Ralph, grateful for their support and understanding. Asf then praised his subordinates for capturing corrupt individuals. However, he's particularly inspired by Hyoran's role in their success and considers hiring him. However, Hyoran prefers to serve where he is. But Nima reminds Asf of Bel's and Hyoran's capabilities, prompting Asf to hire both Hyoran and Bel to help with Nima's plan. Before revealing the plan, Asf asks for everyone's oath, as Nima's plan is confidential and could cause huge controversies. Prince Brute starts by mentioning his name, which convinces the others to join in. With everyone's commitment, Asf unveils Nima's plan to create a place where humans and monsters can live in harmony, which impresses everyone in the room. Ralph is then assigned duties by Asf, as he's next in line to be a noble. The team fully supports Nima's plan, including the prince. Nima is excited to see Shinki arrive, and she's eager to learn more about hobgoblins. However, Ralph is irritated by Shinki's presence and is surprised by his father's approval. But Nima knows that Ralph won't object due to his father's consent, making her feel at ease. Shinki then updates them on the goblins, revealing their decision to serve Nima after being convinced with brute force. They plan to move to the goblin cave with the help of spirits to guide them. Nima is satisfied with their progress and focuses on incorporating the kobolds into her plan. However, they learn that the kobolds are attacking caravans and becoming more brutal. Despite the challenge, Nima remains confident that she can negotiate with their leader and recruit them for her cause. Nima wants to learn more about the situation, but they realize someone is blocking information from reaching the capital. Bel decides to investigate by infiltrating the Adventurer Guild, but they need to locate the kobolds first, which could be dangerous. Nima becomes worried as the situation worsens, but Ralph reassures her, knowing they can handle it. Her father asks the team to protect Nima and his son with all their might and sincerity. Nima also gets inspired and praises them, seeking permission from her father to accompany them. He grants it, but advises her to nap first. She then agrees but states that she wants to sleep with Lars. Ralph suggests that she sleep with him instead. She then rebels and chooses to sleep with Shinki, which was quickly denied by the two boys, who eventually let her sleep with Lars. After Asf arrived home, Kara is upset that her father allowed Nima, a 5-year-old, to go with them, fearing the dangerous monsters. Asf assures her that Nima is protected by Lars and Shinki. However, Kara's mother is still concerned about Nima's intentions. Despite her wanting to accompany Nima, Kara's father refuses. But after remembering that they had previously received a letter from Uncle Philip, a renowned adventurer, they plan to send Kara to learn from him. Nima then arrives in Lennis, marveling at everything around her. The knights then introduce themselves, along with other renowned personalities. But despite Prince Brute's admiration for the city's security, they don't allow Nima to roam around just yet. Disappointed, she sends a magical spirit to listen in on their conversation outside. The guards, suspicious, initially want them to leave due to the dangerous nature of the place. However, upon hearing that they're there to examine the area, they allow them to proceed. Later, they dine with a local leader who appears malnourished. But Nima senses something suspicious about the person accompanying him. She observes the surroundings and wonders about their strategy against their enemies, planning to eliminate them with the Adventurer Guild's assistance. And she worries about meeting the kobolds and takes the time to examine the area. While visiting the place, Nima notices the poverty and hunger among the people, and she is shocked that the royals aren't assisting them. Suddenly, she hears a puppy's cries of pain. Intrigued, she chases after the source of the sound. She's then distressed to find children beating the puppy, their innocence clouded by their father's teachings to show no mercy to enemies, including all dogs, which made Nima intervene. The children then step aside, and Nima comforts the injured puppy. She instructs Ralph to heal the dog with his magic, bringing relief to the puppy. But Prince Brute points out that the puppy turns out to be a kobold pup. Hearing this, Nima decides to take the dog to its mother, despite knowing the risks involved. Despite the danger, they're determined to accompany Nima on her mission. Nima and her team stroll through the town, but Hyoran suddenly stops. He notices that the bell hasn't rung yet, which is a legal requirement. And they realize that this might signify an emergency and suspect the town is hiding something. Although Hyoran doesn't know what, Nima trusts his instincts, recalling how he's helped uncover corruption before. She asks Hyoran to investigate while she focuses on current events, with the only condition that he shouldn't rush. If anything happens, he should display the royal family emblem. Nima then plans to leave some spirits from Lars so he can track Hyoran. After parting ways with Hyoran, they plan to return the rescued kobold puppy to its home and discuss the Shana project with the kobolds. They head into the forest to find its hiding place, unaware of the challenges ahead. In the forest, Nima and her friends sense something approaching. Initially, Nima gets scared but discovers a small gelatinous creature, known for its extremely moist body. She wishes to touch it to understand its texture, but it starts moving, indicating it needs help. The slime leads them quickly, with Shinki and the knights following. They soon find something strange, and one of the knights suggests it might be a mother slime, something that's rarely seen. Nima realizes the colorful things inside are small slime babies, and if all were born simultaneously, the forest would be filled with them. She urges the slime not to give birth there due to the cold and dangers of the forest. But Will explains that once the slime becomes a mother, it becomes a parasite and can't move. Feeling saddened and unsure, Nima soon learns that it was possible to host the slime inside her body as it won't harm her. However, it'll feed on the nutrients she consumes, allowing her to eat as much as she wants. Ralph suggests it might be best if Nima doesn't house the slime, but they decide that it'll be beneficial as it can protect her. Nima expresses her concerns about housing the larger slime in her body, and Shinki reassures her that it won't cause any problems. Nima then introduces herself and names the slime Shizuko, forming an alliance with their kin. As the mother slime enters Nima's body, Ralph asks her how she feels. Nima tells him she feels Shizuko inside her, and Shizuko informs her that the small slime will be the next mother. Hearing this, Nima advises they must take her with them to find a safe place for her offspring. She then settles on the name Haku for the small slime and holds her in her arms. After walking for some time, they felt like the scenery remained the same. Will asks Lars if he sensed anything, and Nima realizes that there might be something deeper about this forest. She followed her instincts, and told Shinki to wait as he is considered a monster. Nima then recalls a sanctuary mentioned in a book where only some chosen people can enter. They proceed deeper into the forest, and this time, they find a different path. Approaching a massive tree, Nima remembers the book's mention of guardians. She addresses the forest guardian, apologizing for the trouble caused. The guardian acknowledges their uniqueness and asks who Nima is. She explains her family title, and the guardian laughs, calling her a strange child. Nima asks for help finding the kobold's hiding place, and the forest guardian questions her intentions upon finding it. Nima replies that she wants to return the little one to its mother. But the forest guardian apologizes, explaining that the kobolds relentlessly chased humans until they sought refuge in the forest. Feeling sorry for them, he decided to hide them from humans. Nima admits she knows humans have done terrible things to them and just wants to reunite the little one with its mother and negotiate with the kobolds about relocating them elsewhere. Nima warns that if the kobolds continue to be hidden, the nearby town plans to send an extermination team, putting the kobolds and the other animals in danger. Nima realizes the situation is dire and doubts they can avoid a conflict between humans and kobolds. The guardian explains that he also can't keep hiding the kobolds forever and provide enough food for them. Nima wishes she could do everything she can for the little one and begs the forest guardian to allow her to help it return to its mother. After a moment, the guardian trusts her but warns that if she deceives him, she won't leave the forest alive. The atmosphere changes, and strong winds blow before calming down. Nima swears she'll never deceive him, and the guardian allows her to go into the forest, telling her that the spirits will guide her. Rejoicing greatly, Nima thanks the guardian profusely. As they continue, Nima informs them that the guardian mentioned there's not enough food for the monsters, which will also be a problem for the Shana project. Her brother admits they hadn't thought about that. Suddenly, they hear Lars roaring loudly, and Nox the bird seems panicked. A large insect emerges, attacking them, but Nox strikes it with his beak, causing it to fall. Shinki informs them it's a mochi and has a wonderful taste when roasted. Astonished, they start a fire and begin roasting the large insect. Shinki then shares the food with Lars and Nox, offering some to Nima, who is visibly disgusted by the insect meat. Her brother advises her not to force herself, telling her that she'll be fine because she has Shizuko, so her stomach shouldn't be bothered. Nima reluctantly starts eating and finds the taste surprisingly delicious, similar to white fish. Seeing this, Prince Will takes a piece, mentioning it lacks flavor but can be improved with proper preparation. He then shares it with the soldiers and others present, who enjoy it greatly. Nima suggests they could likely use the shell for something as well, and Will suggests they could sell it to the Adventurer Guild or the Blacksmiths Guild for money. Nima is thrilled and instructs Lars to hunt more of those insects along with the knights, intending to give them as a gift to the kobolds. As they hunt the insects and find many of them, Nima feels the mochi will be extremely useful for the Shana project. They continue on their way, guided by the spirits, until they reach their destination. Suddenly, the little kobold starts making noise, and upon arrival, the monster's eyes light up. Nima informs them they've come with the blessing of the forest guardian to meet their leader. However, Shinki relays that the kobolds express distrust, but Nima tries to offer the delicious mochi meat as a gift, prompting the kobolds to agree to speak with their leader. Overjoyed, Nima sees it as paradise, wanting to take all of them home with her and add it to her plan, but first, they need to find the little one's mother. The kobold leader emerges and asks them what they want. And Nima expresses her happiness to meet her, and explains they've come to return the little one they rescued in Lennis. The leader identifies the kobold as belonging to their herd and questions why she went to the city. Turns out she was left by her peers who tricked her into staying. The leader gets angry at kobold pups for allegedly lying and tells her to leave as soon as she's done. This enraged Shinki, but Nima calms him down and suggests smiling to gain their trust, promising to discuss the matter once their bellies are full. In the great gathering, Nima hands over the pup to its mother and observes from a distance as they enjoy the delicious food. As she does so, the leader of the herd approaches her, introducing her name as Sazali, and expresses her happiness as Nima has done a good job. Sazali then begins to recount the story of how many kobolds were attacked at once, resulting in numerous casualties. Nima is taken aback by this revelation and warns Sazali that an extermination team will arrive soon, making it dangerous to stay in the area. Sazali acknowledges her information of the impending danger, explaining that as a stargazer, the stars have informed her of the situation. When Nima suggests the Shana project as an alternative to fighting, Sazali refuses, stating that the herd consists of kobolds who have survived human attacks and seek revenge for their fallen comrades. She expresses her lack of faith in humans and insists on fighting. But suddenly Nima's brother then calls her, urging her to return to the city as soon as possible. As Nima leaves, Sazali ponders the appearance of two bright stars in the sky, remarking on the presence of the rescuer star next to their own. She questions the significance of this observation. The scene shifts to Nima, the prince, and her brother, as the prince informs her that Kara is on her way to join them. Nima is excited about the impending chaos that will ensue when all the siblings gather. They then watch a local report from the troop leader, where Prince will announces his intention to conduct an inspection tour. He asserts his authority over the royal knights, instructing them to follow his orders without hesitation. The following morning, Nima decides to return to the forest once more. Upon her arrival, she is greeted warmly by the little kobolds, whom she has brought plenty of food for. Sazali, the leader, approaches and notices the two monsters beside Nima. She then introduces Shinki as the master of monsters and explains that a slime currently resides within her body. Nima then discusses her Shana project plan with Sazali, acknowledging the difficulty of gaining the kobold's trust due to past human harm. Despite this, she expresses her determination to help them. Sazali, intrigued by the presence of a human aiding monsters, agrees to put her trust in Nima and promises to gather other leaders. Nima is elated by this progress and wonders about the significance of Sazali's stargazing background. At that moment, a large dog named Hanley approaches Nima to express gratitude for saving one of their puppies. Initially, Nima is captivated by Hanley's appearance, due to his extremely fluffy fur. Hanley introduces himself as belonging to the healer's family, and explains that it's natural for him to have a name. Nima then mentions Shinki, and when Hanley questions who named him, she claims responsibility. Hanley then proceeds to share insights about the kobolds, detailing their environment and division into hunters and workers. As Hanley speaks, Nima becomes entranced by his fur and eventually touches it, marveling at its softness. Ralph then approaches, and questions her actions, but Nima expresses a desire to create a stuffed toy out of Hanley due to his fluffiness. Despite initial skepticism, Ralph is surprised when he touches Hanley's fur and finds Nima's words to be true. Prince Brute also admires Hanley's fur and suggests replicating it with neutral magic, but Hanley becomes frightened and pleads for them to stop discussing it, as his fur is unique and shouldn't be replicated. Sazali then arrives and invites Hanley over. Nima then gathers her friends and explains the goal of the Shana project, which was to gather monsters and find a safe location for them. They discuss various strategies, with some suggesting capturing humans for hunting training while others propose utilizing human skills instead of killing them. Nima then asks for suggestions to handle the extermination squad, but one of the leaders expresses a desire to avoid conflict and reach safety until Nima's plan is implemented. Suddenly, Sazali's sister speaks up, accusing Nima of deception and claiming that all humans are greedy and cruel. She expresses suspicion about trusting them too easily. But Nima tries to assure her of their intentions to help. Nima then offers her the opportunity to join them and fight alongside her sister and the others. Sazali then addresses Nima as her savior, explaining that the stars foretold someone would help them, and now she believes it's Nima. Sazali confirms that without Nima's intervention, they would have been abandoned anyways. The kobolds then conclude their meeting, with their leader instructing them to gather firewood and allocate tasks for escape. The carpenter family begins working on tree trunks and making carts needed for their escape plan. Nima listens intently as her brother discusses the logistics of their plan with the kobolds, learning about the families involved and their roles in the operation. She's amazed by the size of the kobold family and the intricate dynamics within it. The revelation about the puppy she rescued being the 12th son also surprises her, highlighting the complexity of kobold society. However, Ralph's interruption brings her back to reality, reminding her of their duties and the tasks at hand. As they prepare to return to the city, Nima assigns important roles to the two puppies accompanying them, emphasizing the importance of communication and vigilance. She also plans to utilize Nox as an emergency messenger, recognizing his abilities despite his small size. Prince Brute suggests visiting the Knights Center, and they all head there together. Nima is surprised by the warm welcome they receive from the leader, Great Knight Vince, who addresses Prince Brute with respect. There the conversation turns to the responsibility for the kobold extermination, and Nima listens closely, eager to understand the situation better. With each new development, she feels the weight of the impending conflict pressing down on her, but she remains determined to do whatever it takes to protect those in need. Nima watches with a mix of surprise and concern as the events unfold at the Knights Center. She notices the unexpected presence of Heelran, who seems out of place without his usual attire. Ralph then executes the plan, urging the responsible leader to join them in the mission to exterminate the kobolds. He emphasizes the potential disgrace that could befall their family if they don't act, prompting the leader to express concern over their safety. Despite initial doubts about his ability to use healing magic, Ralph assures the leader that he can manage it to some extent. Eventually, the leader agrees to have him join them in the rear lines, exchanging his participation for the assistance of 2 guards. And just as the situation seems settled, a red-haired soldier bursts into the room, bringing news of an emergency. Startled by the whisper in his ear, the leader apologizes and rushes off to address the situation. As they follow to see what's happening, Nima is deeply surprised and saddened by the sight of the severely wounded fighters. She watches as healers work to treat them with magic, feeling sympathy and concern for their well-being. As they observe the wounded knights, Ralph realizes that the 2 healers present might not be sufficient to tend to all the injuries. So he decides to assist them with his own healing magic. Meanwhile, Nima is struck by the severity of the situation, wondering how the knights sustained such grave injuries. Prince Will then explains that they were attacked by a carnivorous beast, and the cuts on their bodies were inflicted by wind magic. As Ralph begins to channel his healing magic, Nima fervently prays to God, asking for strength to aid her brother in saving the lives of the wounded knights. Miraculously, Ralph's magic reaches all the wounded knights, healing them instantly. The leader of the extermination squad is astounded by the display of magic and commends Ralph for his incredible abilities, unaware that Nima's prayer played a crucial role in the healing. With the wounded knights now restored to health, Will questions one of them about the incident. The knight reveals that they encountered a carnivorous beast in the dungeon, which attacked them from behind. Furthermore, they learn that the beast was being controlled by a beast master. Nima is taken aback by this revelation, unable to comprehend how a person could control such a fearsome creature. Later that night, Nima makes her way to her brother's room but feels overwhelmed by exhaustion, realizing the magnitude of the challenges they face, including the presence of the beast master. She enters the room to find Heelran already there. After inquiring about his health, she asks if he has any information about the knights. Heelran reveals that he discovered the regional commander's corrupt activities, including stealing relief aid and taking bribes from adventurers. However, he admits to lacking concrete proof due to the regional knight's reputation for shady dealings. Inspired by Heelran's revelation, the prince suggests examining the knight's orders and deliveries, as they may uncover evidence of the illegal flow of money. This idea sparks hope among the group as they contemplate their next course of action in confronting the corruption within the knighthood. With the assignment of the royal crest to Heelran, the brute prince emphasizes the importance of his mission and instructs him to safeguard the crest at all costs. Nima, recognizing the danger this puts Heelran in, advises him to prioritize gathering information and assures him of her protection through the spirits. Grateful for her support, Heelran expresses his appreciation before departing. As they depart, Ralph informs Will about the imminent arrival of the Red Laudada group, anticipating escalating tensions. However, Will reassures Ralph, acknowledging Nima's chosen path and her determination to see it through. The next day, Will takes charge and outlines Nima's plan to the gathered kobolds, detailing the impending threats from the extermination squad and the Red Laudada group. He organizes them into groups, each accompanied by healer magicians. Observing Will's commitment to her plan despite his status as a prince, Nima marvels at his willingness to sacrifice for the sake of the monsters. She reflects on her role in orchestrating this plan, feeling a mix of doubt and determination. Despite her concerns, Will encourages her, assuring her that her chosen path will lead to success in the end. Nima expresses worry for the innocent lives at stake, but Will reminds her of her crucial role in the upcoming battle and encourages her to be brave. Just then, they receive news that the captured carnivorous beast and its master have been released, heightening tensions further. Nima contemplates the escalating situation, uncertain of what the future holds. The next day, as Nima interacts with the kobolds, she receives reassurance from one of the fighters' leaders, who reminds her not to blame herself for the upcoming battle. He expresses his determination to protect their horde and Nima, urging her to stay focused. Nima, buoyed by his words, promises to do her best. As they gather with all the kobolds, Will informs them about the impending arrival of the Red Lad and the Beast Master. The little beast girl, showing concern for Nima, prompts a moment of warmth between them, interrupted only by the adventurers approaching to their territory. Meanwhile, the Red Lad group finds themselves disoriented in the forest, sensing an unseen force impeding their progress. At Nima's behest, Shinki and Lars unleash a coordinated attack on the adventurers, incapacitating many. Grazia then neutralizes the threat posed by the Beastmaster and the carnivorous beast, earning Nima's gratitude. Will initiates the next phase of their plan, deploying various tactics against the adventurers, including traps and magical attacks. Despite their efforts, the Red Laudada group proves resilient, with Syria even reviving fallen comrades. Nima realizes the need for additional assistance and seeks Soul's aid, only to be rebuffed due to the risk posed to her. Forced to rely on the kobolds, they engage the adventurers in a fierce battle, but the outcome is grim as the Red Laudada group overwhelms them. A perceptive member of the Red Laudada group detects the presence of humans aiding the kobolds, prompting Yuga to suspect a hidden strategy. Believing the kobolds may be concealing werewolf warriors, Ralph decides to reveal a crucial secret, compelling everyone to swear secrecy. Ralph reveals to the Red Laudada of the existence of an ominous organization known as Rhinohark, which is hunting down monsters and driving them into their kingdom. Despite lacking detailed knowledge about Rhinohark, its reputation instills fear among those present. Yuva's claim of hearing a child's voice during the battle raises suspicions of human involvement. Ralph probes further, but the absence of any sighting leads him to dismiss it as a figment of imagination amidst the chaos of battle. The leader of the extermination squad recognizes the potential threat posed by unseen, powerful allies of the kobolds. Realizing that further engagement would only deplete their forces, he orders a retreat, prioritizing the preservation of their manpower. Just as relief washes over Ralph and his companions, a sudden bolt of lightning illuminates the area, revealing that all the kobolds have vanished without a trace.